It's a historic day. The importance of Catholic theology, the importance of theology as such, first of all, the most important things in life are somewhat deeper than science. It's the search for meaning. And for those of us who have a sense of the reality of God, meaning and God are closely linked. What does God do in our lives? What do our lives mean in God's sight? What's the higher, like the deeper meaning of life? And all of that is the topic of theology. And Catholic, in its proper meaning, is worldwide, and therefore it takes in the full realities of the world and of history into the ambit of theology. So, properly speaking, Catholic theology refers to its width, but there's also a certain element of concrete continuity in Catholic theology, in that the Catholic Church has had a fairly coherent, or has sought anyway to have a coherent theology over the centuries, sometimes more convincingly and sometimes less so, the coherence of Catholic theology. But it seeks to somehow integrate all the branches of insight into a system that is mutually coherent. Now we have a magisterium, which is a special kind of a teaching authority given to those who are elected by ordinary process, but somehow, we hope, guided by the Holy Spirit. And so some coherency with the long central magisterial tradition is sometimes as problematic, but it is more gift than problem, I would say, to have the magisterium in the background. Now, my area, of course, was Bible, and I'm happy to be part of a church which formally accepts that the Bible is absolutely essential as a theological source, that no theology can be properly Catholic which doesn't have its roots in the Bible teaching. And so, having taught New Testament for so many years, I think the New Testament, along with the newspaper, are two major sources for theology. The famous statement by William Barclay, who was for many years a Presbyterian brilliant teacher of theology in Glasgow University, he said that the Bible and the newspaper are the two things that the theologian should read every day, so that all the rest of the reading is subsidiary to that. He tries to bring biblical teaching and real modern life together into his vision. Yes, a young person, very likely, if they're typical of the Irish young person today, knows very little about the Bible. They know that it has been regarded as important. They may know some Bible stories, but they may not know that in Catholic theological tradition, the Bible is studied critically with a serious attempt to find out to what extent it is symbolic, to what extent the stories are literal, to what extent even a non-literal story has importance for today. So a young person who wants to get a more sophisticated understanding of why the Bible is so important, why it has been so important over the centuries, why it is still in churches today given such prominence, they could broaden their field considerably by taking a Bible course. Even if they're not going to go on to be Bible teachers, it would be at least as important as taking a course in James Joyce, in my view. Both are important cultural attainments to come to grips with certain texts that other people highly value and prize. Yeah. Well, I'd first of all say that Christianity is very, very dependent upon the Bible as its core text, its main criteria for practice and for belief. And in the Catholic Church, there's been an attempt made to blend the living teachers with the textual criterion. And so papal teaching and episcopal teaching is always peppered with references to the Bible, which is an admission that unless their teaching is compatible with the Bible, it's only their opinion. So to give greater depth and greater conviction, and we'd say persuasive power to their opinions, they have to show how it fits into the core tradition enshrined in the Bible. So I think it would be an enrichment to a person's culture, as well as a potentially deepening of their faith, to come to grips with, for example, the great St. Paul. what does the Pauline life and message have to say to today? More importantly, come to grips with the teaching and the style of Jesus. And to what extent has that been continued in the church, and to what extent does it need to be reformed in the church? That kind of thing. It would be a very living experience. Generally, people who do theology appreciate it. You hardly ever say they've wasted their time.